Hey, it's your girl Go Queen with the Q Chat podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our latest episode. Before we get started, I want to give you some information on how you can grab some Q Chat merchandise. Go to www.goqueen.com and there you can purchase any Q Chat merchandise or any of my Go Love Yourself tees. So go ahead, take a look at the website and feel free to grab some merchandise today. There's something else I want to fill you guys in on. If you haven't heard, Anchor is the hottest and easiest way to make a podcast. It's the best price in the world, free. So go ahead and download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. And just remember, Anchor distributes your podcast to all streaming platforms. It's super simple. So go ahead and sit back and get ready to listen to the next episode of the Q Chat. But don't forget, go to www.goqueen.com and grab some merchandise. Thank you for tuning in and get ready to listen in. Go Queen! All right, so we're recording a new episode of the Q Chat. This one I'm going to entitle Go Conquer, and I have a great, awesome person. His name is Mr. William Poole, and he organized a great movement called Addiction Matters. And I want to just go ahead and give him the floor so he can start off and tell you guys everything and what this is about. So how you doing today, Will?
I'm good. How about yourself?
Doing great. So just start off and, let's just start this off by telling everybody that's listening, just give us the history first off on Addiction Matters, how you got to this journey. Just fill everybody in with that first.
Okay, Addiction Matters was started back in 2016, and it actually came about due to the nature of my addiction. I started abusing drugs and alcohol at the age of 9, and I always was throughout my life looking for my calling, looking for my purpose, and I was more addicted to the street, more addicted to the lifestyle. I didn't want to be of any service to anything or anyone, but throughout the course of my addiction, it led me into prison. It led me to become homeless. Had my marriage on the verge of divorce several times. Led me to numerous rehabs, numerous trips to the hospital because of an apparent overdose that I suffered so many times I lost count. And then I actually realized that this was my calling because I felt I had hands-on experience that was taking over the nation by storm, addiction. And so I would often hear people tell me, man, you there's an anointing on your life, there's a calling on your life. God wants to use you. And I constantly heard it. I heard it. And I had to be about maybe about 16 or 17, and I remember being on the block, in the trap spot, and I'm on side the house. It's a drug infested house. This is where we sell drugs at. And I remember being in that spot right there. They must have had maybe about 11 of us that was hanging on this block at this particular time of day selling drugs, right? And there was a woman. She used to be a school teacher of mine. And I seen her coming. Now, mind you, I hadn't seen this lady since I was like in the second grade. I'm 16, 17 years old at the time. And she come walking up the street because the church was evangelizing on the corner. They used to come around there hoping to pray all these drug dealers and these drug users off this street, off this block, give the residents their home back, their peace back, right? And I'm sitting actually in the alley with my head down. I have my head bent down. I'm stooped down. I'm stooping down. My head is bent down. This woman bypassed all of these people. She comes in the alley and taps me on my shoulder and said, "Excuse me, sir, can you come and talk with me?" Right?
Wow.
Now, all of these people, they just you didn't pass up. You had to pass up 10 of them to
Right.
get to me. You passed them up, tapped me on my shoulder. When I raised up, when I looked up in her face, my eyes bust wide open because I knew. I'm like, that's my teacher. But she didn't recognize me though. Because like I said, I hadn't
Wow.
grew up. But anyway, man, she walked me to the corner and I'm listening to him evangelize and he talk. Well, I end up at the church that same night, right? I end up at the church that same night. And the following Sunday, I was being baptized, right?
Oh, wow.
So it was so crazy because remind you, I was rebellious. I'm not trying to get involved in none of this. I'm not trying. But anyway, I ended up there, right? And I think that was the beginning of, the direction that I was going to head in, because at that point, I love the approach that they had, and as well as they were very persuasive and, getting me to come, and they spoke well, they articulated their words well. They impressed me the way they carried themselves, right? And how such of a strong force they was united. And I was connected to that type of force too, but it was a bad type of force. They had power as well, but it was utilized in a different way. And I think that was the beginning of, me wanting to do right. But, like they said, when you want to do right, evil is always right there beside
Right.
you. And so I began to experience that. And then later on in life, I got into more heavier drugs. I ended up using the heroin. And throughout this whole time, I'm battling, going back and forth. Do I want to be a man of righteousness? Do I want to live the life that I'm living? And so I'm getting more and more addicted to
Wow.
the life and the streets and the drugs. But at the same time, I'm praying. At the same time, I'm building my relationship with God, so I think, right? Well,
Right.
I'm not gonna say so I think, but I'm building it up with Him, and at the same time, I'm building it up with the streets. So I'm in a tug of war.
Right.
I'm
Right.
tussling. Which way do I go? Which way do I go? And uh and through that, at 27, I ended up using heroin, and that took me to some places I thought I'd never go in. And I began to get beat. I call it.
Well, let's barrel back. So I know I definitely want to get to. I know you said you, as I follow your platform, obviously, and you mentioned just struggling with heroin abuse. Which, if people are not familiar, just from research that I've looked at, they said heroin is like one of the worst drugs. Like, as far as like once it hooks you, it's like one of the worst ones to like recover from. We can touch on that. But one interesting thing that you said, and I learned from watching your show, is that you said, and you mentioned that yesterday, and we'll talk about how people can watch your show. But you mentioned yesterday how you started drug use at age 9. So can you like give people like that haven't followed you, that's new to learning about your journey, just how did that start at age 9?
Well, at the age of 9 years old, what it was my grandfather and my grandmother both stayed at the house with me, my mom, my siblings, and my
And tell people too that's unfamiliar that that you are from. You just tell them where you're
yeah.
from too,
I,
so they know that.
okay, I'm from New Orleans, born and raised.
Mhm.
Born
Mhm.
and raised. Grew up on the West Bank. I went to school on the West Bank. And
Mhm.
so I was on both sides of the bridge. I mean, all
Mhm.
throughout the city. And
Mhm.
but at the age of 9, I began fondling, tampering with alcohol. And see,
Mhm.
I had so much access to it because see, my grandfather, he was a moonshine peddler. See, so
Mm.
he sold moonshine. So we always had alcohol in the house, always,
Mm.
right? And
Right.
back then we used to have that what we used to call blue label Thunderbird and red label Thunderbird, and you know,
Mm-hmm.
and my I could get a bottle, I could take it outside to the kids, and oh
Mm.
man, we sipping on that there, we acting crazy, you know, and so I'm like this popular kid, right? And here I am in the fifth grade. I remember being in the fifth grade, no, fourth grade, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
bringing little bottles. I'm bringing little half a pints to school.
Mm.
Everybody looking for Will. Everybody look,
Wow.
man, you got that, you got what you got? You got that blue label or the red label, right? So I became popular with it, but not knowing, the effects that it was having on me because it was at my disposal. I mean, I had complete access to it. And plus we would always, when we catch a cold, my grandmother and them had these old remedies, a hot toddy, pour
Mm-hmm.
some liquor in it with a little lemon and some honey. But what I didn't realize was that this was taking me over. And
Right. And for people that's not familiar in New Orleans, that is a thing. Like they would
yeah,
treat us with whiskey,
yeah,
to be honest. Like I know when I had a toothache, my mom would take cotton, stick it in whiskey. Now obviously you give whiskey to a child, what is that gonna do? It's gonna knock them out.
right,
So
exactly.
just for people that's wondering what's the hot and toddy, that's when you put a little tip of whiskey and whatever, little liquid and boom.
Right.
That was the treatment.
That was it. And so this over this time, man, I became active in drinking, and I continued to grow, and then before you know it, partner of mine came around with some weed, and so now we smoking weed, we drinking a little wine, and gradually it continued to grow. And before it even got past, actually before it got to the weed, I kicked it with the cigarettes because my grandmother would
Mm.
ask, hey, she used to call me Jigaboo, right? She used to call me
Mhm.
Jig or Gigolo. Can you Jig?
Mhm.
Can you go light grandma's cigarette for me? And so when she would ask me to go light that cigarette on the stove, well, I got to puff that, right? I got to put my mouth down. I got to put my mouth on it, and I got to put it to the
Mhm.
fire, and I'm pulling it. So after a few times of doing that, my cousins and them, they used to be like, "Oh, I ain't smoking that." But for some reason, I took a liking to all the stuff you said, to, or all the stuff
Right.
you said, "Oh no, I ain't gonna do that." That made me want to do it more. So know why? Because I wanted to show you, oh, I could do it. I could do it. You
Mm.
saying, you will never do that. Well, I'm gonna show you, I do that. And gradually, man, from the wine to the cigarettes, then came the weed. And I remember hitting my first pull of weed and thinking like, wow, paranoid, and I didn't have the effects that I would get as I got older. And then I was introduced to the crack, where we call them geeks, where they would roll
Mhm.
the weed up and the crack up together, roll it up and smoke it, call it a primo, or you will take and roll that crack up with some tobacco and you smoke it, and I
Mm.
remember getting that first urge. I never forget. I had to be at least 12 at this time. And we was
Wow.
on the expressway. My friend and I had took his mom call late at night. She didn't know. It was about 1:30 in the morning. Now here we trying to go to a club. I'm 12 years old. I never
Mm.
forget it. Club James in Marrero. I never forget it. And we trying to go to this club. And we at the light on the corner of the West Bank Expressway on the West Bank of New Orleans, and Ames Boulevard. And I
Wow.
lit it. And when I lit it, while the light was still red, I remember smoking it. And before that light could turn green and pull off and go at least 10 yards, I asked him, did he have some more? I wanted more
Wow.
of it, right? And
Mhm.
that was it. That was the start of an addiction that I would
Mm.
come to know what it will do to you. Because from that point forward, it was some form of drug that I had to have, whether it was coke, whether it was PCP, whether it was pills, whether it was weed, whether it was alcohol. If it would alter my mind, if it would alter my mind, I had to have it.
Mhm.
And then I became obsessed
Right.
with masturbating at a young age
Mhm.
because it
Mhm.
certain drugs stimulated me in that way. And then I started
Mhm.
realizing I would get that same feeling, as I was getting high when I masturbated, when I saw older
Mhm.
women, so I began to
Mhm.
indulge in wicked, toxic behavior, man. And these things, I battled, you know, up until the present day and time of my life, because I went
Mhm.
in, I had them when got clean on several different occasions. I've been to so
Mm.
many rehabs, man. I mean, like people will ask me, now, like, what's the difference? And I
Mhm.
would often tell them, we'll find out. We'll
Right.
find
Right.
out because see, back then I would tell people what they want to hear. I blow smoke
Mhm.
up your ass just because I know you want to hear something. So, and because I'm gonna say it because it sounds good, right? My
Right.
wife would
Mhm.
ask me, family would have. Well, okay, this your 10th trip to the rehab. What makes this time different from you? And I'd be like, oh, I've been submitting my life to God. I trust Him. I believe that this is it. This is over with. I'm not gonna do this here. I'm not gonna do that. And I've learned this time. But you see, I said that before. I said that the prior 9 times that I went. So now when I'm
Mm.
asked that question, I look at whoever may ask me, what's the difference now? I look them in the eye and I
Mhm.
let them know and I tell them, we're going to have to find out. We're going to have to find
Mm.
out. But I can tell you that right now, today, I have no desire to use. What tomorrow may bring, I have no idea. But today, I have no desire to use. And so that's my
Mhm.
difference. I'm not into
Right.
telling people what they want to hear no more. Yeah. And see, that's how I used to
Mhm.
live my life though. I used to believe,
Mhm.
if I could tell you something that you won't hear, we'll be good. And as an
Right. Right.
addict, all I want to do is tell my wife the right thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because she
Mhm.
she she has heard it all. You feel me? So
Right.
all I
Mhm.
want to do, I just want to keep my marriage. I just want to keep my marriage. So understand that if I want to keep that marriage, I'm gonna see whatever it is I gotta see. To
Right.
keep that.
Mhm.
But mind you, in the back of my mind, it's all phony, man. It's just to get
Mm.
back in the house, get the keys back to the car, get a little truck.
Mhm.
That's all. That's all. But see now today, she'll tell you herself, I'm a she have to tell me. I mean, she tell me all the time. She say, babe, man, you don't realize how different you are. I say, am I? She say, you are. You are you different. I say, well, I'm just walking. That's all I'm doing. I'm just walking. I don't say what I'm doing from this day to that day. I don't say what no
Mm.
difference is. What's gonna be different this time? What I'm gonna do different this time? I just walk. That's it. That's it.
Mm. Now, I know you mentioned you started at age 9. Now, I know like some people who have dealt with addiction, we talk about it a lot on my show, just basically childhood trauma, things like
Hmm.
that nature. Like we do a lot of things to mask trauma that we
Right.
went through, that we haven't received proper therapy or just had anyone to talk to. Was there any like trauma? And I know you touched on a lot of in the past. Can you like fill us in on, do you feel like there was a tie with trauma that you
There, there,
experienced
there,
in
there
numbing pain?
definitely was. It definitely was because
Mm-hmm.
I experienced firsthand molestation by a male who was a friend of the
Mm-hmm.
family. I experienced
Mm-hmm.
molestation by a family member, female family member, as well as a female friend of the family. So I
Mm-hmm.
was exposed at a young age to a lot of sexual content. You feel me? I was
Right.
held down against my will by a
Mm-hmm.
male friend of the family and molested. As a
Mm.
child. I remember that day so vividly. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
see it as I talk about it. I can see it, and
Mm-hmm.
and I used to always say when I got older, I was going to approach him. I mean, I used to have it. I mean, I had it all planned out when I got to a point where I was big enough, strong enough. But
Right.
here I'm a child. I had to be, I think, like about
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8 at the time when this happened. And I used to always say when
Right.
I got older, you know, uh, I'm a bring that karma back around to him. He gonna pay the price for what he did. But
Right. Right.
he ended up in prison. And he ended up in
Mm.
prison and actually on death row. Now he was on death row. Now he has a life sentence in prison. You
Wow.
know, and
Mm-hmm.
and then there was some women, that uh, molested me. Sexually,
Mm-hmm.
that exposed me to them and allowed me to fondle them and touch on them in ways that I shouldn't have been able to. They touched on me in ways
Right.
that they should. So
Mm-hmm.
with the woman part versus the man, I became um versus the man doing it, I became in a way to where, I felt shame, I felt powerless, I felt
Right.
I felt
Mm-hmm.
nasty, I felt dirty, I felt unclean,
Mm-hmm.
and these are things that I had never disclosed to my parents, to family, until I
Right.
was up in age. I was in my 40s. I'm 46 now. I had to be about 41,
Mm-hmm.
42 when I first broke the story, when I first told them,
Right.
when I first told my wife, you know, and
Mm.
because I was going through some counseling sessions while I was in a rehab, and I actually broke it
Mm-hmm.
to a counselor, and it was like, you need to talk about it, right? Because
Right. Mm-hmm.
I was holding a lot of anger, a lot of bitterness in, and it led to more using, to where, I began to mask my emotions and my feelings because I never really
Right.
wanted to deal with it. But then from the woman, doing that to me, this and that, it was like an enjoyment, right? It was like
Mm-hmm.
I felt grown. They made me feel grown. They
Right.
made me get a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
I caught a feeling from them fondling with me and sexually arousing me, and those manners, to where it became addicting, and I didn't even know it. Because I would find myself as a
Mm.
young child. All I wanted to do was masturbate. All I wanted to do was masturbate. That's it. You know, and that
Mm-hmm.
shit
Mm-hmm.
carried on to up through my adulthood. But I never could figure out
Mm-hmm.
why. Would I get like this? You know, but
Mm-hmm.
that was some of the reasons why I would be so sexually active, in the way that I am,
Right.
because of what I experienced, what they introduced me to. They introduced me to that life, and as a child, I became infatuated. I became fascinated by the fact that I could reach this climax, and I could feel good about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, right? A
Right. A
high is a
high is a
high,
high.
and then to
Mm-hmm.
see them expose
Mm-hmm.
themselves to me, and I remember going to tell my friends, like, I'm bragging on this. You know what I mean? I'm bragging on this because I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
got interaction with an older woman, you know, and so I
Right.
became in a way to such to where I was like sexually exotic, to where I won't watch porn. I won't watch videos, you know. If I look at this woman, I'm going off and masturbate. I remember being caught in the classroom, second grade, masturbating under my desk, under the desk, and
Mm-hmm.
things like that. I remember getting caught by my
Mm-hmm.
mama laying on the sofa. I had to be about 9 or 10, openly just masturbating. But these are things that I seen. And then I
Mm-hmm.
had my father, who was married to my mama, you know, trauma, to where with him pulling out a gun Oh, my mama, telling her that,
Mm.
he would kill her. I told you, if you
Mm-hmm.
wanted to leave, the only way you're gonna leave me was in a body bag. And I witnessed that. I witnessed my dad having sex with another woman while I'm actually laying in the bed on side of him, right? And they having sex.
Wow.
So I'm seeing all of that, and things of that manner. And my aunt, she has porn, and I'm watching porn at her house. We got access to the videos, and
Mm-hmm.
me and my cousins and them, we sitting there watching it, we jerking off. Now, mind you,
Mm-hmm.
all of these things are occurring between the age of 7 and 11. I am,
Wow.
I'm experiencing, I'm indulging in some behaviors no child should be indulging in, you
Right.
know. And so
Mm-hmm.
those are some of the things that I experienced, you know, as a young child. And then I found myself, I'm 13, and, you know, now I'm getting cracked to go find older women who smoke drugs,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because I hear that,
Right.
these prostitutes are doing things for drugs. So I'm putting myself in all kind of danger. I'm putting myself in all kind of
Mm-hmm.
danger. And I still haven't seek counseling on what's going on, because you know
Right.
why? I'm too ashamed. I'm too.
Mm-hmm. And then and did you feel like, and at the time, did you like did you even realize it was wrong?
No.
You know what I'm saying? Because
What?
you were a child. So did you even associate
The
or connect that
the
this was
only
wrong
thing
at the
I
time?
felt and knew was wrong was when the guy held me down and inserted himself in my rear end. That was the only thing I
Mm-hmm.
knew and felt was wrong. But with the women, I felt it
Mm-hmm.
was right. I honestly, at that time,
And I'm
I
glad you
felt it was
touched
right.
on that. I'm glad you touched on that because I think a lot of times people don't realize that women, number one, can sexually abuse children. I think for some reason we don't correlate. Women are predators too. You know, a
Correct.
predator is a predator, male or female. If you overpower anyone that you can overpower and intimidate and make feel bad, I mean, a woman can definitely be a predator, and I think that's something we don't realize. And I'm glad you touched on that because just like it's in the media now, just like a lot of men have come out and say women have abused them, and it just seems like unfortunately
Yes.
these women get away with it because no one really wants to talk about the fact that women can be
Hmm.
sexual predators too. And like you said, it's something that makes a child feel like, okay, well, this is a woman, this is the opposite sex, so it's okay when
Right.
it's just as bad. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that because there's a lot of men that have these stories, but they're confused, or like you said, with any sexual abuse, even with women, like we all carry shame in discussing it, or just facing the fact that that happened. There's a lot of shame involved. So I'm so happy that you mentioned that too. For men that listen, they really need to hear someone that's
Hmm.
honest, and that's
Right.
transparent with
And
what
it's
they
it's
went through.
it's, it's you see it often, and a lot of young guys,
Mm-hmm.
they don't want to talk about it because it's like, okay, who wants to say, right? I'm a male, right? Who wants to say she raped me?
Mm-hmm.
How would that sound like? You
Right,
know what I
right.
mean? And so many people, they make
Mm-hmm.
joke of it. They may make joke, make light of it. Oh man, that woman ain't real. You gonna talk about nah, but see the effects, the long term effects that is gonna have. Because let me tell you, had I known what I know now, if I would have known what I known then, I would have said something then. Because look at the risk. I mean, I used to pick up prostitutes,
Right.
right, and have sex with them with no rubber. Let them give me a blowjob,
Mm-hmm.
no rubber. You feel me? I'm telling you, I
Mm-hmm.
was 13, 14
Right.
years old. Let me tell you, honest God, man, I didn't have
Wow.
gonorrhea so many times, man. Now just think,
Mm-hmm.
it only take one time to catch HIV or syphilis. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
see, I was
Mm-hmm.
obsessed
Right.
with the climax of the masturbation. I just wanted that feeling. You feel me? So I put myself in jeopardy
Right.
so
Mm-hmm.
many times. So many times, man. I could have been
Right.
caught HIV or AIDS. I could have been caught syphilis or herpes. Thank God. It was just kind of real every time. But the fact of the matter is, it was
Mm-hmm.
repeatedly. I would go out there, get burnt. Next month, I'm burnt again. The following month, I'm burnt again. Know why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm taking these little rocks, right? If I can't meet a woman and I can get some sex
Right.
right then and there, well, I know where I could go get off at. I know I could go ride up one of these
Mm-hmm.
strips and find one of these prostitutes, and I'ma get it right then and there. And
Right.
I started indulging in that, man. So when I think of what they did, they put me at risk,
Mm-hmm.
man. I began jeopardizing my life, my health. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Chasing the high.
definitely.
Now, I know you mentioned, obviously you told us about just this journey as a child. Now, I know you said at 27 is when you started using heroin. So, where did, like, how did you get to that stage? And I know, like, just touching on your childhood, and I know you mentioned the story of the teacher when you were about a teenager. So, what led to that stage in life where you kind of, had it in your mind to maybe try and get past this? And then up to 27 when you started using heroin. I know you mentioned prison and everything. When did you get to the point where you tried, to get off these drugs, but you obviously had to struggle. So
Man, that
what was
journey
that journey
was a
like?
roller coaster. That journey was up and
Mm-hmm.
down. It's crazy because guess what? For the first time, right? My son asked me about some things this morning. He asked me about, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because my addiction was so bad, to where my wife ended up in federal prison, you know, behind my
Mm-hmm.
foolishness, behind my lack of leadership, behind my lack of being a man,
Mm-hmm.
lack of being a husband, lack of being a father, right? Because I was doing so much of stealing and
Mm-hmm.
robbing and taking, it led her to, alter some paperwork, to try to see if we could get a
Mm-hmm.
little extra money, not knowing that, it was going to cost her. You know what I'm saying? But mind you,
Right.
that wouldn't have never happened had I been lined up. Had the head been in
Right.
line, because there's truth that when the head is
Mm-hmm.
out of line, everything else behind him out of line, right? Because I'm the head and I'm not
Oh
the
yeah.
tail.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm supposed to be the lead and provider
Right.
of my family. My family follow me as I follow God, right? Well, that wasn't the case. And
Mm-hmm.
so, my son asked me about that this morning, was like, Dad, how was it trying to get off drugs? And, because he was like, I never asked you, how did you maintain when mom was uh in the feds? And she was gone
Mm-hmm. And
nine
how long was
months.
she going?
She was gone 9 months. And
Mm-hmm. How old were your kids when this happened?
my oldest boy, he was about 11. My youngest son, he was about
Mm-hmm.
6. Yeah, he was like no, he was 7. My
Okay.
oldest was 12. And so both of
Okay.
them, none of them could live with me. I lived in the house in the dark. I stayed in the house because
Mm-hmm.
I was, oh man. He took me back this morning. Wow. Say, man, look, I ain't thought about this in so long, but we had a house in Houston. We had got a house, and my wife ended up getting charged with that. And actually, when they found out, I was in rehab at the time when I got the call that the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
Marshals, the feds had went into the house. And my
Mm-hmm.
son asked me, what was I doing during that time? And I explained to him, I was like, well, y'all had went back to live to New Orleans with your granny and your papa, and because I wasn't fit as a parent, to take care of them. And
Mm-hmm.
so they went back to live
Right.
with them, and I was explaining to him this morning that he never knew. I said I stayed in that house. I was in the house in the dark with no lights for 3 months. For 3 months, I was in the house
Wow.
with no lights. And he was like, wow, there you sir. And during this time I'm getting so loaded and I'm selling everything out the house going. I'm
Mm-hmm.
selling all the clothes. My wife come back, her closet was empty. My closet hadn't got emptied out. My son
Wow.
closet hadn't got emptied out. I hadn't sold the games and the PlayStation and DVDs and surround sound, and I just sold everything, man. Everything I could possibly sell that I thought somebody would buy, I sold it. And so that
Mm.
struggle was real hard, leading up to the point when I first tried heroin. It was up and down, and actually leading up to the first time I had tried heroin, I had never been to rehab. I had never been to a rehab. Actually, I had an addiction, but I was what they call a functioning addict. You know how you got your functioning alcoholic who could
Mm-hmm.
who could get up and go to work and produce for
Right.
himself, make his well that's how I was.
Mm-hmm.
I was a functioning addict. I had a habit, but it didn't take me like that heroin took me. And now I was getting high every day, but I wasn't stealing nothing. I wasn't robbing nobody. But good God Almighty, when
Mm.
I got my hands on it, and I ended up on heroin in in
Mm-hmm.
February, February the 19th, 2001. February 2000, February 19th, 2001. That was the first day I tried heroin. I got I got married
Mm.
on February the 14th, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, five
Wow.
days after I got married, I brought that wife of mine through 19 years of pure hell. You hear me? I'm talking about, I'm talking
Wow.
about, it takes her to tell you. Because when I tell you I cut up, man, say man, no man,
Mm.
all glory be unto God, because I done some things.
Mm-hmm.
I done some things I'm not happy about to this woman, man. And she never got
Mm-hmm.
to really know me. She knew me. We met, fell in love, and got married all within 6 months. Got married and everything, right? And
Oh
I can
wow.
say right now,
Mm-hmm.
to this day, glory be unto God. I love that woman, man. We closing up on 20 years, man, and we still together, right? And this
Mm.
woman has stood by my
Wow.
side through it all. Now I've been threatened. I done been called the police on, and all of these things. But when I tried that dope on that evening, and I only got it because I told you I used to smoke PCP. I used to smoke wet, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it was Mardi Gras Eve,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mm.
wanted to celebrate. I wanted to have fun, but I knew I didn't want no cocaine because it was gonna be hot that day, and I didn't want my eyes looking all big and looking all spook. I didn't want no weed because that was gonna make
Wow.
me all tired and everything. I didn't want no weed. I didn't feel like being paranoid because if I smoke weed, I got to smoke a little coke with it. I got to roll something up with it, right? I didn't want that. I didn't feel like drinking, and my dude had to rain out the PCP. So I'm asking my homeboy. I said, man, where I can find some dope at? He said, dope for who? And I lied. I said it's for a girl. That's
Mm.
now.
Wow.
Look, I had never seen heroin. I had never seen heroin, and
Mm.
that was the first day I
Wow.
got it. It took me about 9 hours to get it. When I put the word out that I wanted, my partner,
Mm.
it took him 9 hours before he went and got the bag of dope. He got the bag of dope. He gave it to me. He said, "Will, if
Wow.
that's for this girl, like you said it is, you get this dope to her, and don't you do it." Because I told him, I said he had some girls down here from Mardi Gras out of town looking
Mm.
for some dope, right? He said, I'm giving you this bag of dope. He
Mm-hmm.
said, Will, don't you get loaded with that girl trying to get some of that pussy. Excuse my language, but he like, don't you get loaded with her trying to get up in,
Mm-hmm.
in, in this woman. I said, man, I'm not, man. I'm not. The whole wallet. He
So
was
you think he was
warning
warning
me
you because he
because
knew how
he was
addictive
on it.
heroin was? Wow.
He was on it. And
Oh
that's why
wow, because he was
he
on
knew
it.
firsthand. That's
So
why
he
it
knew
took him, because I
firsthand.
had been asking him since 8:30 that morning. I didn't get it until about 7 o'clock that night.
Mm,
So all day he had been dodging me. And I
wow.
finally called him again. He's like, man, come on, bro. He was like, when I got around there, he came to the call. And I never forget. He like, say, bro, I swear, bro, if this don't, bro, if this for you, I'ma know about it. I'ma know about it, bro. If you do this here,
Mm,
I'ma know about it. He said, he called me Lil William. He said, Lil William, he said, bro, I'm telling you, bro, don't touch this, bro. I said, I'm not. I'm going to give it to the little broad, bro, straight up. He's like, all right, man, I got away from him. I got home and I snorted that dope. My life changed forever. It changed forever. It took me places I thought I'd
wow.
never go, did things I thought I'd never
Mm,
do, and seen some things I thought I'd never see. Yes, it made me do what I had said in my life
wow.
that I would never do. And I come to realize in life, when you living wrong and you say you will never do this, that's a yet that has yet to come. But if you keep going, you're going to be crossing that yet out
Right.
because you're going to end up doing it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Right. You got a
Right.
crack in the door.
Exactly.
Is welcoming you.
And
Right. Right.
so my life, man, up to that point when I did that heroin, it changed. It changed everything. It changed everything that I worked for. It changed everything that I stood for. I mean, it demoralized my whole life. I mean, everything just plummeted. I watch me lose myself. You know, I lost everything that was
Mm-hmm.
about me that I had been built up to that moment. Even though, like I said, I was getting loaded, but
Wow.
it took me to a place in my life. Shit, man, when I think about that, it took me to a place in my life, like, you know, I don't know what word to describe it, but it was
Mm-hmm.
unreal. It was like, when people say,
Wow.
uh, they know there is a hell because they've been with the devil. Yeah, that's what I believe, man.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it. I know there's a hell because I've sat on the side of Satan himself. You know, I've actually got to the point to where I remember praying and asking Satan to get me some dope, and I do what he need me to do. I do whatever it is he need me to do throughout the day.
Wow.
And I never forget the first time I did that when we was in Houston.
Mm,
I was coming out of a food town store. It's called food town grocery store, and I went in there to try to steal some meat.
mm-hmm.
And the guy noticed
Mm,
me, but he didn't arrest me. And I remember coming out of there, and I wanted some dope so bad, and that was the first time I had crossed over, and I had actually said, Satan, if you help me get me something today, man, I'll pay the favor back. And I remember saying that. I remember, Lord knows, I remember pleading to him
wow.
to help me get some dope. And sure enough, it happened. And then when it happened, it became repetitive
Mm,
then. When that happened, it was a
right.
belief that I had. When I asked Satan for it, he was going to give it to me. But it came at an expense every time. But
Wow.
mind you, I didn't care. I wanted to laugh now. I cry later. That was the mentality I had. I laugh now. I cry later. Long as I get what I wanted to have at the moment, man. And from using that heroin, I attended a rehab at least twice a year, between prison and
Mm-hmm.
rehabs every year for the next 19. Every year from
Mm,
2001 to 2020, from 2001 to 2020, I shot my last dope, my last shot on January the 10th of 2020. That was the last day I put a needle in my arm.
wow.
January the 10th, 2020.
Wow.
So from the day I was married, 5 days after I was married, February the 19th of 2001, I got high up until January the 10th, 2020. Now, mind you, I had my little breaks because I was either in prison or I called myself going to rehab trying to get clean.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
How many times do you think you, from starting heroin, how many times do you think, if you could count off the top of your head, that you went back and forth, trying to get off of it and going to rehab and trying to seek treatment? Like, how many
boy,
times
that's
would you
such an
think you went
interesting
back and
question
forth?
because guess what? I tried to find all my
Mm-hmm.
paperwork from all the rehabs that I went in, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the ones I do have, I
Mm-hmm.
got 25 different rehabs that I went to, right? 25. And guess what? Check this out.
Wow.
From now, I'm now the paperwork I have right now, I have 25 different discharge papers from rehabs that I went in. All right. Now, mind you, 2020, this year, I completed a program, right? I completed a program this year. So we're going to count this program and we're going to count we're going to count 24 back. You know what date that take you to?
Mm-hmm.
2009, man.
Hmm.
That was from 2009
Wow.
to 2020. I got 25 discharges.
Mm.
25. Now we ain't talking about from '01 to '09 because I couldn't find them. I'm talking about from 2009 to 2020.
Right, right.
25 different facilities that I
Wow.
went in, man. Well, I'm not gonna say 25 different because a lot of them I went 2 or 3 times, but I got 25 discharge plans over the
Mm-hmm.
course of time from 2009
Wow.
to 2020.
Through your back and forth, and the relapses, what's the longest you think, like, if you had to go back in time off the top of your head, what's the longest period you had where you had a period, where you fought it and you wasn't dealing with the addiction, but then you
I
relapsed? Like, what's
look,
the
you ain't got
longest
look.
period you think you
One
went
thing we gonna
through?
know, and remember this here: anybody that's in recovery, if they
Mm-hmm.
work in the program, right, they gonna tell
Mm-hmm.
you their clean date
Mm-hmm.
because it's like their birthday. They gonna know it off a hand. They gonna know the
Mm.
last time they
Right,
shot the
right.
dope, drunk the beer, popped the pill,
Mm-hmm.
smoked the weed, snorted the
Mm.
coke, whatever it was they did. They'll be able to tell you the last day they did it and where they were at. They will be able to tell you if they had a relapse, the length of time they had. And guess what? This gonna be so big because the longest length of time I had clean. I'm talking on the
Mm-hmm.
street, no prison, out of rehab, 1 year and 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
1 year, and so
Oh,
this
wow.
this one here.
Mm.
Look, this one big for me because look, I gotta capitalize on this
Right.
because I look at the stats. That's why I say I speak to how I speak today when people ask me,
Mm-hmm.
Will, what's different? And I can say, we're gonna have to find out.
Right.
We're gonna do this thing day by day because see, I
Right.
know
Right.
that year and them 2 days, it's lying down ahead and I want to be able to grab it and pass it. But statistics show that I've always failed somewhere in between this range. In between the time I got now, which is 4 months, and somewhere between that year, I always tend to
Mm-hmm.
fall. Now that's what statistics show. For me, my personal stats,
Mm-hmm.
that's what it shows.
Right.
I've never exceeded a year and two
Right.
days on the streets. On the streets,
Mm.
I've never exceeded that. So one day at a time, man. And you know what? I don't even think about that. Not saying that it ain't in my mind because I know it is. And not saying
Right.
that, the
Right.
thought of the warrior, the fear don't rise up in my mind because, I know how I take off and I know how when I get up in the air and I level off and I'm at an altitude where I'm flying, I know there are going to be some air pockets. I know I'm gonna hit a pocket. I already know this
Mm.
because it happens in recovery. It happens because
Right.
just because I was talking to my son about this morning. Just because I'm clean and I'm sober, That don't mean I'm riding on a pink cloud every day. You know, that don't mean that. That don't mean that. But
Right.
what it does mean is that
Mm-hmm.
no matter what happens in my life, if I don't use drugs, I had an awesome ass day. I had an awesome ass day. If I don't
Right.
pick up, I don't care what happened in my life. If I don't pick up no drugs or alcohol, I had an awesome ass day. I had an awesome day. So,
Mm.
I know that, see, I'm not responsible for the thought. I'm responsible for the action that follow the thought. Because the thought, they come and go. You know, thoughts come and go. Your most holiest individual
Wow.
may have such a sinful thought. They have a thought. Now, what they do after the thought, they're responsible for that. See, I'm responsible for the action that follow my thought, because I'm not going to sit here and tell you, oh, I don't think about getting high. Oh, I don't think about a drink. I don't think about a nice daiquiri with some crackers.
Right.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
about that. But the
Right.
reality
Right.
is this. Once I finish that daiquiri, I need to pull that lid off, because in the bottom of that cup is a needle and a bag of heroin. Yeah, man. So,
Mm.
but
Wow.
it's a process, man. And you know, like I said, I failed many times. I did, man. I failed many times, to the point I used to shoot up hoping I died.
Mm-hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was times that I was found, and I wished it
Wow.
wouldn't, because it was a peaceful death. I didn't even know it. I didn't even know I was unconscious. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know when I got rushed to the
Right.
hospital. I had 35% oxygen left in my body, and the nurse and the doctors around me, when they revived me, and they say, "Son, if the person who brought you here would have caught one red light, do you understand you would be dead?" That's all they needed, was one red light. You had 35% oxygen
Wow.
left in your body.
Mm.
35%. But the dope's so powerful, right?
Wow.
It's calling me so hard, right? As soon as I get discharged, I go right back looking for that same dope. I want that same dope. I want that
Wow.
same dope that just damn near killed me. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Because for some reason, I thought the result would be different
Wow.
if I put my scientific studies down on it. I might can adjust this thing, and maybe this time I hit it, I can get that good high instead of that overdose. You know? Oh yeah, man, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
it's very tedious. It can be stressful, strenuous, but it's a process, and it takes willingness. Along with the work, it takes willingness, man, and that's
Right.
why I advocate so hard, man, and I pound that on my children. My children, I don't hide nothing from them. I give it to them. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, it's explicit, because you know why? I want them to know. And I used to always ask God, I pray that what I went through, and in which I know it wasn't in vain, but it was to whereas not only people who listen to me on the social networks, the Addiction Matters show, but for my children to be able to see me and see how it was, because they saw me now. Oh, my children, yeah, both of them. Both of them. No, everybody
Mm-hmm.
but my daughter. Well, I ain't gonna even say that, because she actually
Right.
she actually experienced it, but I don't know if she had an idea what was going on, because we was in the truck one time and I jumped out. I jumped out the truck, and because they didn't want to stop. Me, my
Mm-hmm.
wife, and my daughter, and my wife, dad, we was all in the car together. They was taking me to the hospital, taking me to a treatment center, and I wanted some more dope before I got ready to go. So they
Mm-hmm.
was begging me to get in the truck, right? And I'm trying to walk away. So
Wow.
I finally got in the truck, and so I knew the street we was finna drive past the area where I knew I could go and get me a bag of dope, and I knew they wasn't gonna stop. I knew they wasn't gonna stop. So uh I had to
Mm-hmm.
throw up. And right, and my daughter sitting in between me, she grabbing me, she crying, and man, this how real this shit is, man. To the point you don't care. Man, my daughter
Mm-hmm.
begging me,
Right.
daddy, daddy, don't do it, daddy. Daddy, you gotta go to the hospital, daddy. Man, see when that truck came,
Mm-hmm.
because we stopped right there. The park was right around the corner from the light where I knew I could go get some dope at. See when that car stopped, I jumped out. And when I jumped out, I started throwing up though. So they looking and I'm throwing up. My wife jumped out the car like, "Don't Will, come on, dude. Look at your daughter." Man, look, I took off jogging. I knew she wasn't gonna
Right.
run behind me, so I took off jogging. I went in the park, saw somebody. I ain't had no money, but these people I know, I'm always coming through. So I'm like, man, look, let me get something. Give me something. So he
Mm-hmm.
gave me something. When he gave it to me, that they come around the corner in the car. They pull up. They knew I hadn't got it now because my whole mood and changed and everything. I get in the car and shit. They bring me to the place, but before I go in there, I do myself up. I do myself up. I go in there. I stay in there about a week, and I'm back out.
Wow.
I'm back out looking stupid, trying to get back to the house, and now, you know, my wife then called, my other people, my mom and them letting them know, look, Will and checked out, and I don't know what he up to, but don't let him come to y'all house. I'm just letting y'all know he's out. She called my parole officer, and all that down, man, and but that be
Mm.
the risk, and you really don't be caring, man. You don't.
Right.
You really don't, man. And that shit is a
Right.
hurt. It hurts. It hurts. It really does, man. When you look back over the harm, that you cause, to individuals, man, and that roller coaster up and down trying to get clean, man. Sometimes you go in and you make it, and you come back out, but the relapse always
Mm-hmm.
occurs when you continue to associate yourself with the people, the places, and the things. If see, I could if I don't
Right.
change my behavior, nothing changes. You're right. Because see, I could be sober, but if I still demonstrate the same behaviors that I did when I was getting high, I'm due a relapse. I'm doomed for another relapse, and you have reservations when you
Right.
begin to associate. It's like I tell people, okay, I don't do dope, right? So if I ain't doing no dope, what I'm hanging off around there in the park for with these niggas that's doing dope and selling dope. All right, okay, my hood or whatever, right? But why am I hanging there? What sense does it make for me
Mm.
to go into a trap house? I'm in recovery though. What sense does it
Right.
make for me to go into a dope house, man? What sense does it make for me to even go to a club, man? When I know the environment. You feel what I'm saying? See, people, you hear
Mm-hmm.
people say they're a product
Right.
of the
Right.
environment. You put yourself in that environment because you don't necessarily have to be in that environment. You don't. You have a choice. You have an option, to be there.
Right.
And I had reservations. So that's why I would always go back. Always. I would always go back. My thing was challenging myself. I used to like to
Mm.
challenge myself, right? Don't
Wow.
talk about once I get my weight up. Because mind you, I get stretched out on dope. I get down about 155. I top out at like 202. That's my max. My perfect weight is
Wow.
195. So on this last rip, I went, I
Mm-hmm.
checked, I remember going into the rehab on this
Mm.
last one. When I weighed in at 154. All my jaws was sucked in, right? And so my thing used to be when
Wow.
I got out, I got my
Mm.
weight bag up. I'm looking good. I'm well groomed. I'm smelling good. I'm feeling good by myself. I won't go show it off now. I won't go hang back by my partners. You know, I won't go see the
Mm-hmm.
old
Right.
neighborhood. Let them see I'm doing
Mm.
good. You know, not knowing. Little do I know. You know,
Right.
yeah, you're gonna be back, but not back how you thinking you're gonna be back. You know, so and it's always about
Wow.
being knowing your motive, man. Because I got to tell you right now, man, that everything I do has a motive behind it, right? But I have to be aware of what my motive is. What are
Mm-hmm.
my intentions now that I come on this show, right? What are my intentions? Because see, I got intentions. on being on this podcast, on Q Podcast right now. I have intentions. My intentions are hopefully
Right.
someone to get the message that I come to bring. And the message is to let them know that any addict, any alcoholic can stop doing drugs, and find a new way to live. That's the message I come to bring. I come to tell you about my story. Rough, rugged,
Right.
raw, transparent at its finest, holding back nothing, because I do strongly believe that
Right.
we are as sick as our secrets. We are as sick as our secrets. So my intention on
Yes.
coming on Q Podcast was to be able to open up and allow individuals, men, women, children, whoever may be tuning in, to know that there is hope. You're not the only one going through what you're going through. Okay? Because if God done it for me, he'll do it for you.
Yes.
Right? So that is my purpose for coming on here. So
Right.
that a brother or sister may see this and be like, you know what? Maybe I can start peeling some of this onion back. Start peeling some of this stuff I've been holding, letting some of this luggage go. I've been holding on to a lot of stuff. I've been having a lot of grudge and animosity toward this. I've been in hidden places because I don't want to expose this part of my life, or I don't want to talk about this because I'm in fear of who may say what or say something against me, or how they may feel or may look toward me if I let them know my darkest secrets. Well, them dark secrets gonna kill you. Them dark secrets gonna keep you in bondage. Them
Yes,
dark
they will.
secrets gonna keep you in the prison of your own mind. See, my intentions on this Q Pod is to hopefully open the gate to someone else's prison, right? Because I've always been told that you share your story and don't be afraid or ashamed of what you've been through, because you may hold the key to somebody else's prison cell, right? So that's what
Wow.
I feel I'm called to do, man. And I just try to keep it so thorough. Sometimes some people could ask me something and it may be like, "Oh Lordy, what to be?" No,
Yes.
I don't know, because they see one thing about me, which you gonna realize, is that I don't hold nothing back, and I don't. There is no secret, because you won't never be able to say something about Will that somebody else don't know. Because goddamn it, I want the world to know. If it happened to me, I'm gonna tell you it happened to me. My life is an open book. You know why? Because it sets me more free every day I talk about it. Every day I talk about it. And see, I want people to just gravitate to what it is I'm saying, and I want them to know that, man, you can do this. You sitting on them secrets right now. You hiding yourself. You shame. There's no need to be shamed. There's none. When I was a child, those things happened, of course.
Right.
Of course. But guess what? I was powerless. I was taken advantage of. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't my fault.
And it
And
wasn't
for
your fault.
years, I would not talk about it because I was too ashamed. I was too ashamed. I was like, man, how can I, what my friends gonna think if they hear? It's one thing telling it to a stranger, but how my family and my loved ones, what they gonna think? What my homeboys gonna be like? They gonna think, God damn, Will, a dude held you down and inserted himself in you? What? What they gonna think about me? Will they think I'm gay? Well, I'm having all these thoughts. I'm having all these feelings, But I found myself becoming free as I begin to talk about it. God damn, and I promise you, when it happened, it just happened. I never forget when I first broke it out. It was not planned. It wasn't planned. I was in the counseling session. When I tell you, this counselor, oh my Lord, I don't know how she did what she did, but when she did it, she like sucked it out of me, and it was like the words was coming out, and I was trying to pull them back in, right? But them suckers kept on spitting. They just kept on jumping out. And I'm like, hold up. And it just coming. And man, I noticed the relief afterward.
And that is part 1 of this amazing episode with Mr. William Poole. Make sure that you guys tune in to next week to part 2 of this amazing journey that Mr. Poole is sharing with us. As I mentioned, in honor of Mr. George Floyd, Ahmaud Arbery, all the Black Kings, I am dedicating the entire month of June to Black Kings for the Q Chat. So please tune in next week, and remember, Black Lives Matter.